My name is Audrey Davis, and I thank you for the opportunity to be here today and speak about prevention work with youth. I enjoy working with youth in my role as a program coordinator for Ethos Youth Center, which is located in Mariposa, California. We're part of a larger organization, the Alliance for Community Transformations, which also has domestic violence and sexual assault programs in Mariposa and Merced. Though our communities are small and rural, violence still happens in our homes and in our schools. Our organization has been doing prevention work in Mariposa and Merced for many years, and it's had a positive impact. Because I've been working in our programs for over 5 years, I've been able to see changes in the community. And through evaluating some of our efforts, I have documented increases in knowledge, messaging, awareness, and education. Have we eradicated violence altogether? No. But have we helped the community to learn to recognize sexual violence? I would say absolutely yes. A specific example of this is the community responding appropriately to inappropriate sexual behavior. Years ago, this type of incident may have been overlooked or chalked up to just something that happens, but with more education and awareness about what sexual assault is, there are more people speaking out and reacting to hold people accountable. The ways that we've been able to work with families and within our education system has helped to create changes, such as advocating for individuals or encouraging school policy changes. So I will talk a little bit more about some of the larger prevention efforts that I've been fortunate to be a part of over the past few years. When I first began doing prevention work at Mountain Crisis Services in Mariposa, we were 1 year into a 5-year grant from the CDC. The grant helped us to focus on community-level change by creating messaging around adolescent relationship abuse prevention and encouraging our community to think of schools as places where healthy relationships begin and where healthy relationship skills can be taught and talked about. In addition to creating and disseminating messaging around this issue, we also developed policy guidelines for our school district to consider, as well as school site level changes that could be practices to promote healthy relationships, such as encouraging schools to hire a counselor for each school site, providing training for all staff, and recognizing and responding to relationship abuse. We were able to evaluate our efforts and measure increases in our partnerships with community members, specifically within the school system. We were able to measure an increase in messaging about healthy relationships that was not only coming from us, but from others who were sharing our messages. That increase helped us to see that the community supported our messaging and that they believed it was important for schools to teach and talk about healthy relationships. The lasting impacts of this project have included better relationships with community partners within the school system and beyond, more youth-led activities that are focused on healthy relationships, such as a yearly performance event, a youth action committee, and a regular monthly column in our local newspaper. The youth performance event started as a sparsely attended show of spoken word poetry that a few youth wrote and performed. And the idea for that event was to hear from youth in their own words about their ideas of healthy relationships and how adults could support them. It grew over the years and featured digital art and audio dramas, all created by youth and centered on the idea of healthy relationships. And after about 3 years, the high school decided to convert the show to be one of their regular performances. Now the show is called Youth Voices Rock and Write, and students write scenes inspired by music. Students then direct and perform the scenes, and youth bands perform the songs. Although it took some time, the show grew from a few people in the audience to being a sold-out show for 2 nights. We now have a platform that reaches a lot of people. The readership of our newspaper is around 1,000 people, which is a lot for our small community. And we have this regular column so we can share our progress and prevention and other successes from our programs. Our current prevention work is aimed at creating protective environments. Once again, we've decided to focus our work on schools as places for learning skills for relationships and for creating positive school communities and climate. We're implementing an evidence-based program called Shifting Boundaries, which not only teaches middle school students skills for respecting boundaries and personal space, and how to become advocates for their own safety, but it also gives students an opportunity to evaluate their school's safety and environment through a hotspot mapping activity. We've implemented this program in all of our district's middle schools and are planning to continue the program for the next 4 years or more. The outcomes so far include reaching around 500 students, helping them to understand what personal boundaries are all about, being able to identify needed changes at each school site based on student responses, and continuing to build our relationships with leaders in the education system so that we may continue to support positive changes within that system. There's so much more that I could say about the positive impacts of prevention in our community. We have a drop-in center where youth can go after school to be safe, play games, listen to music, do art projects, and talk with adults and their peers about some of the challenges they may be facing. We teach a life skills class at our alternative school once a week, which gives us another opportunity to connect with youth who've had many challenging circumstances in their lives. We meet weekly at a girls' group home and do art, which helps them to cope with the stress of being away from home or their families. Though we're doing so much in prevention, we've had success and have been able to see change over the past several years. More funding for prevention in our community would allow us to continue the work we are doing and increase our capacity to do more. We only have a few staff working primarily on prevention, and they work hard, long hours and weekends. It's difficult to say no to things in this field because we don't want to miss any opportunities, so we end up being spread very thin. But because we know it works, we keep working at it, and when we learn of our successes, it makes us want to work harder. Thank you very much for giving me the time to speak today and to share some of the work we're doing.